Hi there, I'm Dave Faoro and welcome to Veneto Gardens. We're doing a very early spring video here. I don't really have much planted yet. None of the summer veg is out into the garden, but I hope you can see some trellising techniques that I use, and probably even more clearly because the plants aren't hiding them. So let's head on into the garden and take a look. Trellises can be either built or purchased. I found the found objects are awesome. So this was at a home sale, and these are bed frames, a headboard and a footboard that I attached onto this T-post here, and it makes for a nice backdrop and for trellising. Right now I have sweet peas growing on here, but I also have grown China beans and other types of beans for the summer, and it makes a really nice introduction. But I highly recommend people to look around their place and use some found objects for trellising. It just makes it personal, I'd say. And so, speaking about found objects, you can also have objects that don't work anymore, like this windmill here that broke on me. So I trellis up vines. As you see, there's still bits and pieces of it on here, of some different bean types, and it would just fill this up and with some nice beans and flowers, which look really good. But again, objects around your garden, this it could be an obelisk type of thing, but it's a windmill. So these three stakes is my trellising technique for summer squash. So what you do is you plant a summer squash here, one plant, and as it's growing up, you tie it to this stake as it's coming up, and leaves that are coming down, touching the ground, you prune those off, and you just keep the upper leaves growing. Of course, you need the leaves for the energy for the plant and fruit, but you have good access to the fruit. You keep a lot less disease on the plant that I found. So this is only the second year I've done this, but this year this is going to be a line of these down here, and all my summer squash in this bed is going to be done this way. It's worked so well. And here we go with some tomato trellising techniques. I like using the string trellis for some of my indeterminate tomatoes. And what I do with this is I plant one tomato, and here I prune the tomato to only have 2 leaders, the main stem and one sucker, and I heavy prune all the suckers that come off of that, and it concentrates all of its energy into the fruit in those areas. And so you'll get beefsteak berries, basically a bunch of berries, beefsteak tomatoes. Now, how do you train this up in string is use these tomato clips, and you clip the tomato clips onto the string, and it holds the plant from falling over, and you train it up this way. As the plant grows, you keep clipping the upper stems about every so often, 8-10 inches or so up. And as the plant grows up, it could hit up here, and so what you can do is you could take down some string and move this down a ways, and now the plant has more length to grow, and you shift all the plants around, and in this way, it's called lower and lean method. Lower them down and lean over, and you can get long tomatoes. And this is how they grow mostly tomatoes in greenhouses, that sort of thing. Okay, these cages is how most of my tomatoes are trellised up. This is called Remesh for concrete. They go under the concrete structurally, and they're 5 feet tall. And I cut these. They're only 18 inches. I don't recommend people to do what I do. I typically recommend 2 feet, but this works good for me. And what the interesting thing here, I think, is also how I hold them up, because typically these will fall over unless you have a stake at each cage. But what I've done is I put 1 stake here, 1 stake down at that end, and with this wood that goes across here, it holds these other cages from falling over, so that I only have to put just 3 or 4 stakes in the whole row, versus, you know, this row has 17 cages. I'd have to have a stake on each cage. So structurally it's held up pretty well. There's string here. This string here and here holds these 2 cages, makes a strong area, and then there's string here that holds the wood up onto the T-post, and so it makes a very strong, solid corner, I would say. So this method of trellising tomatoes, and also very useful for peppers especially, or eggplant as well, that I use them for all 3 of those, is called Florida wheat. And the way this works is, if you imagine each of these stakes as one of those plants, and as the plant is growing up, you start with the line from here, and you weave it around the plant base and come back, and you pull these really tight. And what that does is it holds the plant in place. I usually do about 2 of them as the plant grows up, and then afterwards, when the plant's now big and bushier out here, I will not weave it. I'll just add a string on the outside, and that's enough to hold the plant in place. But the bottom weave is really good initially to hold the plant stable and not fall over when it's initially growing. Okay. This is a simple trellis technique as well, and it's very simple. Just a T-post on the end, electrical conduit, 3/4 inch electrical conduit at the top, and this is a PVC T, and there's a screw here at the top that's screwed into the metal of the pipe, and that holds it all in place, and it's pretty solid. And then what you do is you just tie a string hip here, goes down, and you could either tie to the bottom of the plant or use staples, landscape staples, and push that into here in the hole. And as the plant grows up, you just weave it around the string here. And you could also use those tomato clips down here to get it started and to trellis it up the string, and even farther up. You could, or just weave it. Depends on how heavy the plant is. So here's an example of one of my square-foot garden beds, and one important item in anybody's beds actually is to grow vertical and through trellising. And so making a trellis out of, this happens to be copper pipe, but you can use electrical conduit again, or pretty much any other types of pipe or T-posts or any other thing that you have and come across, and then pick up some trellising material and tie it up. I use UV zip ties because they don't deteriorate in the sun, and it holds it up, as you can see, pretty rigid. I'm gonna be trellising up this tomato here, and there'll be cucumbers here as well. So they're going to be trained up this and heavily pruned. So it's going to be a single stem tomato coming up this plant, this area. Thank you very much for coming out and seeing my early garden. It's a little bit tired still from the winter, but just watch, it's going to improve a lot. But thank you very much for coming out. And if you want to see more about what I do, go to venetogardens.com and my webpage, and it'll take you to all the other places to contact me with any questions you might have. So thank you, Have a wonderful spring.